Hey everyone, Brian here. I have a question. Do you ever have those moments in your life where something is so obvious it's like a hard slap right in the face? Well, today we're exploring that in D&D with what was an obvious piece of foreshadowing in your campaign that nobody caught on to, part 2. Man, that was a run-on. Ran a campaign where vampires were trying to conquer the world to revive their god, the first vampire. In order to bring back their god, they needed a vessel, which leads to the voices in the host's head. One character's backstory, a celestial warlock, was that she wanted to help find her brother, who ran off somewhere after going insane after a fight, and in return, had the celestial merge with her to become two people in one body. Last day of the campaign, on our final session, the party enters a cave full of vampires, but none of them attack, as it was sacred ground for them and their new rule. They find the brother bloodied, bruised, but still alive. A wizard tried to cast Detect Thoughts on the brother, but failed automatically. After trying to reach out their hand, the warlock gets attacked by the brother, trying to bite onto her neck. The brother goes all maniacal, talking to nobody in particular about how he doesn't want to appease them. The party even read about how the vampire god couldn't be mind-read, and they still didn't know what was happening. I had to improvise a scene where the vampires entered the room and said, "Say hello to your new ruler," before the message finally clicked. My players were delving in a particularly vile and evil puzzle dungeon where the first thing they read was a poetic step-by-step guide to getting to the end. The individual steps were out of order, but were placed in a manner that, when read aloud, would only make sense in the correct order. One of these steps read something like this: "And when stuck in, the button will count, but do not fear, with courage your victory shall come about." Once they'd entered the room locked them in, and a button rose on a pedestal from the floor. As soon as they touched the button, the room gradually began to shake and blast alarms, and count backwards from 30. The solution is to not press the button and be courageous. It took them nearly an hour because one player kept freaking out and pressing the button at the last second. The first campaign I had ever run as a DM started out simply enough. There was a small session 0 where I presented my homebrew pantheon, as well as a map of the region where the campaign would take place. They seemed to understand it pretty well, and even congratulated me on creating such a good Genesis story and being so detailed with the map, which was a huge relief as one of the gods, while probably my favorite, was very difficult to design to say the least. It's hard to create something for a god of the void, antimatter, and overall nothingness. Anyway, one of the first missions was for all of the party to see a giant statue for the god of leadership. All paladins, clerics, and etc. had lost connection to him and were unable to use their powers and abilities. The party was given entrance to the temple and saw a message written in Supernal, the lost language of the gods, underneath the statue of said god. Nobody had been able to decipher in centuries, but since in a basic explanation, the party was chosen individually by the original deity and forgotten mother of the rest of the pantheon, they were aware of this fact as they had met the goddess. They were able to read it. "At the call, I shall appear. Don't wait for me, I'll bring you here. From a touch so divine, it could rival or trifle mine. I wish the time not arise when blood red again fills the skies. Should this true evil still be alive, I shall begin to reunite the five." Yes, I am aware of how bad that is. Keep in mind this was my first ever experience as a DM. I liked the overall campaign I created, but that inscription still hurts to look back at. Anyway, one would imagine the players would, touch the thing? Nope. They spent around 20 to 30 minutes thinking of what it meant. They tried chanting junk, they pretended they would leave and go out the door, then immediately run back in hoping he would show up. They considered that maybe they had to come back once they were max level and stronger than the gods. The bard even tried turning everything red with prestidigitation. Eventually, I gave in and told them to just touch the darn statue. The bard flipped over the bowl of popcorn, the barbarian threw an empty pop can at the wall, the cleric ironically cussed me out, and the blood hunter just got up and left. I have no regrets. I made a bunch of magic weapons, armors, and accessories that went together like sets and that had a new passive for every additional piece you put together. I also homebrewed a bunch of orbs that used various magics that thematically fit the different magic damage types: fire, cold, electricity, acid, necrotic, and radiant. My group found one orb, which was lost when a player was dissolved by magma. A player that left the game had possession of a legendary sword they forgot about, and one of the current players has a pair of magic boots she never tried in 2 whole years. They forgot about the rest and went to another world. Now they'll never get a chance to find them. I may give the items to bosses later when they come back to reclaim their world. Rule 0 of DMing. Be prepared to make a bunch of hooks and shit your players will eventually find a way to circumvent. Here's the real Rule 0 corrected. Never fully create anything more than one session in advance, and learn to keep your plot hooks fluid. You have a lot less stress. This didn't happen in D&D, but Vampire Dark Ages. I don't know if I'd call it obvious, but my favorite moment of foreshadowing was during Session 1. The Lord, Prince of the city, had gone missing. The players were rummaging around the Lord's study trying to find clues. The Seneschal had taken 3 books aside before the players got there that they were not supposed to see. The players realized this and quickly forced the Seneschal to hand the books over. The 3 books were his diary, his private itinerary, and a children's book. They asked about the children's book because it seemed out of place, but the Seneschal explained that it was a book given to him by a dear friend from the days back in which the Lord was still alive. While technically worthless, its sentimental value was through the roof. Only one player decided to even read the children's book. The book detailed the entire backstory of the big bad evil guy, but told as a children's story. And she dismissed it. It was a literal year later when they finally pieced together enough of the story to realize what was going on. The player that read the children's book said aloud, "This sounds really familiar." I could only smile and nod as I waited for the eureka moment to happen. Suddenly, that player cursed my name. "God damn it, Skillwrong 7422. Show me the children's book the Seneschal hid from us." Evil laugh. I was a player, and this happened to my PC in Shadowrun 5th edition. Ooh, we don't get a lot of these stories often. So, after every run mission, we have a few sessions of downtime where our characters just do everyday stuff and so on. One of these downtimes, our party went to holidays, to the Canaries if I remember correctly, just to get a warning from a friend that some powerful people we offended were after us. So, that friend arranged for a different lodge on a nearby island. My PC is a decker, pretty stoic and interacts with most people he doesn't particularly care for, rather distant. Now on that new place we stayed at was a contact of our friend, working as a staff member at the hotel while our party went about their day. My PC was the one who interacted with the most that contact. I just didn't see what would be coming, even though all the clues were there in front of me and I should have noticed. My PC lives in an apartment in Germany, above a Chinese restaurant, and he, being a more or less good person, stopped 1 or 2 robberies at that restaurant and generally was helpful, never asking for any compensation. Since he lives just above that restaurant, he often stumbles upon the old lady that owns the restaurant, and she always brings him free food and all. Problem is, she was also very persistent about getting my PC to meet up with her daughter. Almost every downtime she would show up and try to get my PC to call her for a date or something, saying how beautiful she is, that she studies medicine and is currently abroad, and so on and so forth. And since my PC didn't really want to, he always dodged doing so and tried to get out of these situations. I should add, my PC never saw that daughter. He only heard of how amazing she is from her mother. I think you get where this is going, because, yeah, I didn't. The first clue should have been the obvious Chinese name of the contact. Second, we were abroad. Then, after they got to know each other better, she told him that she was studying medicine. It didn't help, it just went over my head. During their romantic date, she asked my PC where he came from, to which he replied, from Germany, and she just said, I am from Germany as well. What a coincidence. And I still didn't get it. Just when my PC told her in which city he was living in, she replied, Ah, hey, my parents live there as well. They have a Chinese restaurant there. I just wish my mom would stop pestering me to meet some weirdo living in the apartment above their restaurant. Not one of the other players got it until our DM literally spelled it out. I just love the dedication necessary to carefully plant seeds over several downtimes without giving it away, just to pull off a stunt that only affects one single PC. My PC and that contact are now in a sort of secret relationship, pretending they don't know each other every time they see each other at the restaurant because she just doesn't want to hear her mother say, I told you he's a fine young man. I was right. You never listened to me. For the rest of her life. Not sure if this is obvious to my players, but I included a nod towards the end of the campaign and the reference to the next. To the BDGZ, stay away. Currently playing through Out of the Abyss while studying lore of demons, devils, and the Blood War. I thought it would be fitting to run Baldur's Gate Descent into Avernus afterwards. After all, if demons are leaking out into the material plane, devils would want to take their rivalry there as well, right? Well, one of the PCs started as a Drow Shadow Sorcerer who later multiclassed into Fiend Warlock. This pact was formed through an open-ended cry for help seeking greater power to fight demons and his own personal aspirations. His call for aid was answered by an angelic figure described similarly to Zariel. This patron claims to be helping to destroy the foul demons and their princes. Only this Drow Sorlock has seen the patron. However, I reason that the fiendish pact was answered by an entity closer within the Underdark, the demon prince of deception, Fraz Erblu. Now I have plans for how the patron will portray themselves, likely developing over time as the player takes more warlock levels. As for the paladin that just joined the party, well, he's not too keen on having to work with a person connected to a directly connected to a powerful fiend. Hey everybody, Brian Von VA here, back at it again, checking in after the vid. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and to ring that bell to get notified whenever we post or in case we go live. Though, if you want to catch us ultra live, do so over on our Twitch page. And if you want to check out like one 30-second to 60-second video per day or so, check out our TikTok. We just have a lot of stuff going on over there. It's really fun, really cute, and everyone will love it. That being said, links are in the description below, so go check them out. And if you have a story to submit to us, do so on our subreddit r/MrRipper. Using a help action, you can come say hi to me, Brian Von VA, on any social media platform. Now, I always end things on a positive note, or at least I try to. One of the most positive things that I can always say to anybody is to be true to yourself. Obviously, that has a lot of meaning to some people, not a lot to others, because some people go, well, if I'm true to myself, then blah, blah. No. Just listen to me. Be a good person. Don't change for anybody else. Don't change for your mom or your dad, or your boyfriend or girlfriend, husband, wife, brother or sister. Change if you need to change. Change for the sake of making yourself better. Change for the sake of making yourself a stronger, more powerful individual for you, not for anybody else. Because you're already going to be living with yourself for the rest of your life. That's just normal. That's natural. That's how it goes. But I want you to be confident in your own ability to be who you are, regardless of what's happened to you, regardless of who's hurt you, or how many people tell you that you have to change, you have to be certain ways. Be you, and change for you, and work for you. And then as you do that in your life, things will fall into place. So have that strength, have that power, because you are strong enough. You just got to believe in yourself. All the love, everybody. Be safe, stay true to yourself, and we will see you next time. Bye for now.